Hello and welcome back to Satisfactory. Now in this episode we are going to be looking to put the space elevator down. In the previous episode we had organised some power and some basic industry. There's been a few changes. I've tidied up some things and I've also placed down the foundation floor here, which is going to give us the ability to put down the space elevator, and we can also start tidying up some of these rudimentary supply lines. We have what has been a slowly growing simple production line going on here. I'll show you quickly. It's not changed much, but as I've been doing a little bit of research in order to unlock some of the player utilities, I've been required to add the occasional production on here. So we have the assembler, and the assembler which we unlocked in one of the upgrades from the main hub. The assembler is what is going to make things like rotors and reinforced steel plates. I'll show you here. We have some reinforced steel plates, and then if I show you the assembler, and inside here you just select the recipe that you want, and these are some of the parts that are going to be required for the space elevator. You can see here at the bottom right corner there we need some rotors and some steel plates, so I've had them ticking away for us. The other items are items that have been unlocked through the MAM as I've been exploring the map. Now it's very long-winded, and from an exploration perspective it's quite slow, so that side of the game I will show you from time to time, but I'm not going to go step by step on that one. It's a very, very large map. As you can see, the area that I've explored has been around this area here. I've found a few caves, and here I've found a few simple resources that I'm utilising on a very simple level, and other points of interest that are useful for the player later on, and to have helped me with some of my research that I've been doing. Anyway, so we have set up, as I say, a very simple run of things here using the mines that we'd put down initially. It's very messy. It's extremely inefficient. We're talking about an entire mine that's capable of supplying several smelters and then branching off into many production lines is being used for a single line. It's very slow, it's very cumbersome, very untidy, and we are going to improve on that. So, but the first thing we must do is to put this space station down, the space elevator down. Now another thing I'm going to do before we put the elevator down is to move the power system that we've created up here with our biomass production line that we've got going on. I'm going to try and improve on that as well. I think it's important, with the amount of energy that's going to be required, at least for a while, that we're capable of supplying both wood and leaves. So I think what I will do, I will create similarly, I'll show you in here as I've been collecting wood. You can see here that the wood it's gone, and I have been supplying plenty of leaves as well to be converted over into the biomass that we have here. Now we have plenty of biomass, we're not in any trouble, we have lots and lots of buffer, thankfully, with the system that we've set up, and the consumption rate of the power stations, the ability to create large quantities of the solid biofuel has been really beneficial to us. And right now, as you can see, the movement of the solid biomass is almost unnoticeable. And if I click on here, you can see we are absolutely full, and it is burning. They are working here nicely. You can see here, but you can see it's the burning of the fuel is much slower, and so the burn rate is really helping us here. We've got plenty of fuel lasts us plenty of time. But because we have so many leaves and they're unused, I'm going to pick up, or connect rather, a second constructor. And that one is going to be dealing with leaves. And so as I collect wood and leaves, I can just throw them in and each one will do its job without getting snarled up. we'll then combine those biomass pieces into what we have here again. So it's basically two industries going into one industry with a combiner. And I think we're going to set it up over here because we have a bit of uneven ground. We have another cement facility here, if you're wondering what all of these are doing up now. I've just been going around very simply putting down what we are going to want for later. So it's just a simple miner. And I think if we place the power stations over into this corner here, we can probably get several of them up on the go. And we can try and keep this nice and tight. Maybe even build upwards, actually. That might be an option for us as well, now that we have the walls too. And then once we've done that, and we've cleared this open area here, we will place down this space elevator. And this is enormous. We do have some space to place it down here. This is what's going to be supplying most of the goods for the rest of the game. What we have brings the goods to, rather, to continue with the rest of the game. But as you can see, it's very, very large from the space footprint. And we are going to want to have other industries running partly in this area as well. So I'd like to tuck it somewhere in the center of this area here, so that other areas, like over there, we have some mines, very simple mines. They're not running yet, but they have the miners ready on them. Then we have this mining area here. We have some stone just down there. We have our copper over here. We have more stone over here and one behind it as well. So much of this is going to be bordering on this platform. And we also need our power system to be in this area here too. So I'm going to move these and I'll bring you back once that's done. So I've decided to build this power system a little bit upwards because we obviously need the space in the middle here, and vertical building is always a good idea in Satisfactory. So what I've done here, I thought I'd show you the initial beginnings of the building. We've unlocked with the MAM the ability to have windows in here, and this just comes under the walls section. And we found some, if I show you on the map, over here we found some quartz. Now we're not actually bringing in large quantities, but we've just found the patches. And so by placing down some simple miners, we are able to start pulling in some of those resources directly. But there's a very, very simple setup over there. I've then taken the quartz back and refined it into silica, and that then allows us, if I show you on the inventory, silica, here we go. And this simply allows us to create windows while we're building the buildings. And with the Lumen system on Unreal Engine 5, which Satisfactory is made with, you can see it's quite spectacular lighting inside the buildings, and it's very much needed. And later on we will also require some lights as well. If I was to just close this in with walls, this would be pitch black in here. So I've placed down a couple of containers. It's been offset slightly with 3 blocks because the constructors that we're going to put on the top, the ones that we're going to make the biomass with, both from the leaves and from the wood, are going to be sitting above, and they will then refine the biomass and pass it to the next stage to make the solid biofuel. And then that solid biofuel will be distributed to the power plants themselves. Haven't quite decided yet where the power plant's going to sit, but probably I will try and do something that keeps them out of the way, maybe continue elevating upwards, and I'll show you the progression as it goes. Just for now, because this one is, I'm a little bit unsure about what I'm going to do with this. It's a messy system that with this one. I will keep bringing you back for little snippets. Okay, so we've got the 2 factories set up there, and now we're going to connect up using the conveyor lifts, which are kind of cool. These slots that are in the walls, the reason I wanted to unlock this early on, will allow us to bring our belts to quite extreme heights. That's the maximum height that I can build it to. But for here, we just want to line it up with our factories as we have them. If I place that one there, and the same with that one there, because this is a slightly uneven factory ground, I'm not worried too much with the exact placement so they line up perfectly, but as long as the belt's going, we're good. Okay, that's excellent. So with this one, we are going to set this one up. I think we will do this one to be the leaves. And then with this one, we will set it to be the wood. Mycelia is something, it's kind of a mushroom type wood that we're getting out in the wild. It's a little rarer in this area, so I'm not going to worry too much about that one. And also there's biomass that you can make from the creatures that have been attacking occasionally. But again, the materials for those are better used with other things like healing facilities. For example, we have unlocked this inhaler that, as you can see, a listing there of the various things that you can utilize, and in the first one it's a protein inhaler. So we find the nuts from the wild with one protein, whatever it's called, can't remember. And that will create the inhaler. Then there's others, fruits and nuts and mushrooms, and then you've got some mycelia that you can do the same with. So it's better to keep that for those, keep yourself nice and well healed out in the wilds. So now that we've got those two connected up, I'll show you what's happened on the inside. We've got the two containers set up here, and we will simply be throwing our... and incidentally, the belts will automatically connect through to the risers. Well, let's go and grab some of the materials that we've got over here, because this is very well sorted for the moment. And we will start with the leaves, which we have plenty of. And you can see the reason I've put the leaves at the back there is because I'm more likely to be coming from this direction with the wood. And I want to be able to throw it in immediately. And then obviously here I have to hop over and mess about a little bit, but it's all good. So that will now pass through. And you can see it's going up on the lift. And if we go up to the top and have a look, and we can see here comes the leaves, and that will go into the biomass. We need to power this up with energy in order to be able to create stuff, but I will sort that out later on, because we do actually have some additional parts that we have to put up here, and that includes some power connectors. And so I've decided to build upwards with the power plants themselves as well, I think. And we're going to require a great deal more height here, so I've made a small adjustment to the way the goods are being taken in. And this is quite a simple setup that we've got here. I run you round. As you can see, a small adjustment simply is where the biomass is now coming, or rather the raw materials are coming through. Instead of coming directly up, I've now diverted them very slightly and put a wall in place. So we now have two of these wall things here. We also have our merger set up. So once the biomass is made, it'll go into the merger here, and that's then going to get shipped into... Let's have a look and see if we can place a storage container in here. I don't think we'll be able to. It's very unlikely. Yeah, it's encroaching. If we move these things too far over, they'll be clipping through the wall. What we're going to have to do is to place the storage chests, the storage container, on the next level up. Or possibly I might do a small shelf coming out of this area here that leads into a container that will then feed up to the next level and feed the power plants themselves, but we'll see. Or I may just stop it here, but we do still need to do the solid fuel, so we are going to need another one of these machines. We only need one machine, actually, thinking about it. So yeah, we can have a storage container up on the next level, one more machine on top of the next level, and then we can cap that one off. And then the power plants themselves we will place probably on the ground level outside of here, or maybe in a separate narrow building that we can feed through the materials that they're going to need to run. And so with the logistics, when it comes to merging these items, I wanted to come through as cleanly as possible to the next level. And as we can see here, we already have things blocking off any path that I may have to come up this way. We could come out of the window from that side and go up, but another really useful thing to use is the conveyor lift floor hole. And this one is really rather cool, so we can just place this one down in a location. I think probably that's going to be the best location, but I may adjust that one at a later stage. And then we can take our conveyor lift, and from that we can turn that to here. Now we need to change the direction of that by pressing the R button, because we know that's the direction which this is going to be feeding to. If you place this down the last time I played this, if it is the wrong direction, then things don't work. It won't auto-correct it. So if you're playing and you're playing along, remember to reverse the direction of that. So we'll bring that down again, change the direction, and now we can see it's nicely lined up. We can pop that in there. And we now have a nice line straight up with the materials that we want. I'm going to change this one over to... that's the wood, right. And that is set up to leaves as well, that's great. Now, another thing we're going to do is to place some power nodes in here. This is really important if we're going to be able to run stuff in buildings. And we unlocked this from the MAM. You can see we've got two different types. Now with the MAM upgrades, as I said before, there's a lot of them to do. I'm not going to do every single one of them on film. It's a pretty simple system. You go out, you explore, you gather all the bits and pieces, it tells you what you need, and then we get the ability to unlock them. Some of them take a lot of time to unlock. I have off camera been working for many hours actually unlocking some of the rudimentary upgrades. This is one of them. Now what we want for this is we're going to need at least one double wall, because we want power to be coming in from outside one of our main power sources that we have over there somewhere probably. And so we just place this onto the wall wherever we want it to be. I usually try to put them into the corners, and then they're a little less problematic. It's not the easiest thing to do when you've got... So if I pop this one approximately there, and then we can take the single wall outlet, and it's not just walls, and we can place that in the middle of the floor on the factory. And from there, we can power up both of these machines. So we'll place one on there. Sorry about the lighting in here, it's a little dark. And then we can drag that one over to connect to the main source. Now if I wanted to, I could actually install a switch, again, which I've unlocked from the MAM. I don't have the materials for it, although I unlocked it. As you can see on the screen here, I require items that I can't actually make just yet. We need the space lift before we can do that, the space elevator. But I could put a switch on the wall there, for example. I can then lead the main power source into the switch, and then from the switch I can send it over to the main branch powering up these two machines. And then if anything happens and I need to shut something down to give me a little extra power somewhere else, I can just go over to the switch, flick it, and it'll turn off the machines that I've got powered. And that applies to any of the machinery that you have running on any of the factories. And there are also more advanced switches that you can unlock later as well. Anyway, I shall continue building this and I'll bring you back. And so now from the top of the building you can see we have our output coming through from the bottom floor. Now what we want to do ideally is we want to begin with a storage container as a buffer always. If you ever have a raw material coming out or a produced material coming out straight into another machine, the problem with that is that if something shuts down in the meantime, in the interim, all of the items that you could continue building, potentially, will just grind to a halt when it gets to a set number. I think 100 is the maximum a particular building can produce. So if you build a spill-off as well, where you can send in a buffer of materials before it reaches that machine, it means that any machinery that's running prior to that is going to continue to produce, and you're going to continue to stockpile. It's really, really important. Always give yourself a buffer between each process. And again, apologies for people that are veterans to this game. That's a very obvious thing to know about. But for the new player, it can be a little bit one of those kind of trial and error things where you suddenly realise later when it's too late and you've lost a lot of materials because something shut down. You could have made thousands of a particular item. You know, you've been somewhere else doing something else. You come back and you find you've got 100 items and you've wasted hours and hours. I feel like we will have another wall coming from here. I shall put that one centrally there. And then might be possible to come up straight into this one. Yeah, it's a bit of a twist. Let's try that out so I don't have to go through the walls again, although I quite like doing the wall stuff. It looks pretty good. We want our logistics, that's right. So conveyor belt. And we're going in this direction. And this time we're coming up. As you can see, the direction is correct. So now if I come out of here and then into the storage there. And then we're going to want our final constructor, which is going to be making solid biofuel. And I guess for that one, it would sort of make sense to put it somewhere where it's a little easier for the inlet to come from the storage container, somewhere over in this line here, but I don't want it too close to the walls. As there's nothing really else that's going to be going on in this building other than producing this, I think I'm going to place it just down here. Again, this will all be closed in anyway. Right, let's hop over there and see what we can do. This is the solid biomass, solid biofuel, I should say. And that will be taking all of the merged stuff that we have. Now, how cleanly can we get this in here? Yep, it's going to scrape the wall, but nothing too crazy. Now, my wife is super OCD when it comes to having really uniform, symmetrical factories. But I kind of like a little bit of organic look with the twists and the bends here and there. As long as everything fits properly together, it's nice to have it being a little bit different. But I do understand for some people they might want to do things a lot more grid-based, where everything is lined up perfectly and looks super symmetrical everywhere. But that's one of the beauty of the games, I guess, is that you get to choose to do that if you want to. So the next thing we're going to do is place some walls up here. We don't need to do anything for this now, so just a simple case of throwing up basic walls. And there is a mode on here for new players if you're unfamiliar with it, and you're placing down foundations and walls. Your default setting is to just place one item down at a time. This can be very time consuming when you're trying to do large areas. So Coffee Stain have added this ability to what they call zoop, and it simply means that once you click and you can drag, and so it's just zoop, nice and long walls, super easy, makes everything much faster. So we're going to deal with that wire in a second, but it's fine, it will clip through the wall, there's no issues with that. Right, some more windows. Again, the windows, you are playing with Lumen enabled in your game, you're definitely going to want to put the windows in and unlock them early on from the MAM, otherwise you'll be working in darkness a lot of the time. So I'm going to jump up onto here so that I can jump out, because I'm going to get stuck in here otherwise. And what we're going to do is to place a few of these around. This red light fixture here on the machinery. Unfortunately, it clips through the ceilings when you're building upwards like this. Actually, I want to get out of there. So we're going to put some power on here as well. And the same again with when we use the double power downstairs, the wall connector, double wall outlet. We're going to do the same thing here in the same location. And then this will be able to supply power to these facilities, or this one facility here anyway. We can do that straight away. In fact, we won't bother with messing around on the ceiling because it's just one machine. So there we go, we've got power to that one. And then from outside we're going to connect that to the one that was below so that they are chained together. We don't then have to worry about whether this particular one has power going to it. Now before we leave, we also need to figure out what we're going to do with the materials that are coming from here. And if we want to have some power stations on the top here, or if we want to maybe feed it around and put another storage container on here where we can then feed through the ceiling perhaps from the solid biomass. That's an interesting idea actually, let's give that a go. So I will take this off for a second. We'll put another wall outlet. Let's do it right in the middle here. Connect those two up. Right, this is just an experiment here, but I'll do it while you're here so that you can get to see it as well. So as you can see here, I can place a container on top of another container. They're not connected. You can connect them using conveyor lift here, if you wish to. I could show you. No, I can't because that one's using both. But anyway, I can connect that one onto that and then it'll lead into the other one if you have them going in opposite directions. And then you can kind of stack, and like a snake, you can stack all the way up and keep stacking and stacking. You'll get bigger containers later, so it's not really that important to be doing that. But what we're going to do here, I'm going to place a storage container down. I need to think about what direction to come from. I think, as this is a nice clearing location on this side, maybe I can, maybe I can run around on this side. We can extend it up actually into the air to come around this side and connect in, and then maybe bring it through the floor. In fact, it would be better to go the other direction, I think, yeah, because we can bring it through the floor up on this side where we don't have wires and stuff in the way. Alright, so let's do that then. So we're going to want to start with I don't think we need the super fast conveyor. We can change that later if it's necessary. We're going to get rid of that cable as well at some point. So we're going to go from this direction. Let's see. I'm going to put in the container first so I know what level I'm on. So it's going to come from that side. Yeah, so we want to that should be in the exact setting we need actually coming out of there. Right. So it's clipping very slightly on the wall over there as it comes out of here, but it's not really noticeable, that's why it was yellow. But you can see we now have anything that's coming from this machine now is feeding through. Let's get rid of this cable here. It's coming through to here and into there, and now we have to get what's coming out of there into the power stations themselves, and that's going to be pure solid biomass, which is the end result that we want. So this building is done. Let's get a ceiling up. And then we can be dealing with how to get that resource up and out of here. And I'm going to jump out this direction here because I don't think I need to do anything else. I believe we are set. The solid biofuel, yes. Everything's connected up. The belts are good. Input is good. Yeah, good. Alright, let's come out of here. Oops. It's kind of tricky sometimes to get out of these places. I'm wearing a parachute at the moment, which has a tendency of opening up at the most inopportune moments. Now we can close that off. And we'll put our last piece of wall in there. There we go, fantastic. Now, where we had our cable earlier on, we can now branch that one down to there, so that's now powering the next floor up, and it keeps things really nice, clean, tidy. We could potentially, but for this one to connect back up to something, if we drag it over to the wall, you can see here, it will allow us to bring this back up in a slightly cleaner direction. I'm kind of feeling maybe there we should be able to connect back up again. No, sorry, fussy. I know I'm not the only one. So we can maybe come to the edge here. Yeah, let's do that again then. In fact, I'm going to go something else. I'm going to do a double one here. Each side on the inside. Then we will connect this one up to here. And that one up to there. And then we need to get into that top floor. Hopefully we can get there from here. Maybe? Yes, excellent. Okay, I'll take this off quickly. And now we can, from inside the building, we can connect these two together. So that's a little bit cleaner. A little bit. Not much. But these are the nice things you can do while you're playing. You know, just mess around, find what you like the look of. Pretty much the main purpose of this game, really. Alright, so we're powered up. We're not interrupting our power supply coming from anywhere else as well. That may change at some point, but I do like to put power points up, high up, in case you branch off kind of into the wilderness, and it's nice to be able to trail off with high power points that are not at ground level. And so the next thing we're going to do is we want our power plants, and we want to get our fuel to come up through the floor, ideally. So I think what we'll do, we will let's go to logistics again. I mean, we have two options. We could take out the window here and feed it through on a belt, but I really do like the idea of bringing it up through the floor and then distributing it from there. Let's give this a try. I don't know how well this will work. And we will also want to split it as well. So what we first want to do is we want our initial supply to come through. And so I want that to be the other way around. Now, the way that usually works when you're that close... Am I offline here? I think I might. Yes, I am. I'm offline. It will usually auto-connect up to that if you've done it right, which I hadn't. But what we're going to do here now is... first of all, we'll get that in the right direction. If we hold the control key down, we can get that slightly cleaner. And then... now we just have to peek through there and connect up. And there you go. So we now have one splitter coming out. Because of the nature of splitters, what you also want to do is from the one splitter, you want to branch off into another two, ideally. So that you get an even distribution. It's not so important for the power plants, but it's something that you want to get used to doing quite regularly, so that you don't run into problems later on. And so what we're doing here, by breaking it off into another one straight away, we are allowing ourselves to continue distributing and splitting off by two. So this one basically would be able to go to an even distribution of the biomass can go to potentially 6 instead of just 3. And I don't think we're going to need much more than that. And if we want to do some more, we can just add some more splitters. So I'm going to throw this one down here. And then this one down here. And of course we could come with yet another one off of this one if we wanted to be able to supply 9. We could come from this one too. So I think this rooftop is actually going to probably just be used as our splitting facility for the fuel itself. Which means we probably want to close this off. I'm going to come back after a bit. I need to work this out. There's going to be a bit of messing around going on here. I don't want to bore you. So I'll bring you back when I've got something a little bit more practical going on here. Alright, so after a bit of messing around, I found what I think to be the most efficient way of doing this. We can potentially power 9 power plants from this. At the moment we're running on 4, so 9 is going to give us a really nice big boost of power. I'm not sure if we'll be able to supply fully the quantity required of biomass, but we can overclock the machinery. The main issue will be whether we can gather enough materials fast enough to be able to do that. But at the very least, we do have the facilities here now to run up to 9 power plants, and you can see they're coming from all of the walls. So I'm going to close this area in, and then I'll start checking out how we're going to fix the power plants themselves to it. Alright, so we have our biomass coming up from the leaves and the wood producers. That's feeding through into our solid biomass, solid biofuel constructor here. That's then being fed over to the main container up here with the solid biomass, or solid biofuel, sorry. You can see we have plenty in there. And that is then being fed up to this conveyor belt. Now, excuse me, because we still have to unlock the staircases and all that kind of stuff, so for now I'm using a very dirty method to get us up there. And then from here we come up and we can see solid biofuel is being distributed to all of the belts. Some of these aren't used yet. We can expand on our power plants if we need. I don't want to be using too much power, or it'll just really eat through the supplies that we have. And then if I go over here, we'll come up, and this is where our power plants are all working full capacity. And these are only using 4 solid per minute, so we were making 60 per minute previously. So we have more than enough power coming through at a very good rate. We're obviously going to have to keep an eye on making sure that our power plants are being supplied. But we have 2 additional supplies coming from this side here. We have 1 additional coming from that side there. The reason for the odd number is because this window obviously is being closed off by the distribution being sent up. Possible that it could be done slightly better, but I think that works quite well. So I'm going to close this one up, because we don't really need to see what's going on inside there. And then we'll get away from the noise. And I shall delete all of this ugliness here. Now if you hold the control key down while you're holding looking at something, you can drag. And it allows you to do full deletion. I'm going to do the same on this side. One more wall to fill in. And as you've probably noticed, we have the channel colors. I have changed and modified the default settings for the colors on this game. I'll show you how to do that quickly. So we just go in here and we can see here. This is the Lhosson Locus swatch that I'm using. And you just click on edit and you can set up the colors and various things here if you're interested in knowing how that one works. So there we have it. We have our first proper building with power supplying. It's not a factory, but it's a very, very important part of what we need to do. And now I can delete all of this, and then we can start getting ready for the space elevator. This is very important for the next part of our journey. Okay, now we have our power set up and ready, and we've created a really nice amount of space in our central foundation here. It's time for the space elevator. So this is basically throughout the rest of the game we're going to have to make more and more complicated products, and then we have to send them into the space elevator in order to upgrade to the next tier. And up until the end of the game, this is what is supplying the corporation. So the reason we have 6 inlet pipes there is that obviously you want very specific goods coming in here from industries that are going on all around the map. This is a really, really important part of the game. And so it's good to find a good location for it from the outset so you don't have to mess around. You can move it once you've placed it down, but it can get pretty awkward and messy. What I like to try to do is give it some space, but at the same time not have it like, you know, in the middle here where it just wastes a lot of space all around the edges. I want to be looking for example, over in this side here we've got some concrete that we're going to want to start getting together. We're going to build another little factory that will probably look similar to something like this. The same over here, we have some pure iron over there, and we're going to want to set up our iron plates and pipes and ingots and everything from that direction. It's probably going to require quite a lot of space over there for the factory we need to do that. I would say most likely that sort of line across there and building upwards might even sort of bring it over the edge there and take it up into the mountain a bit. But I definitely don't want the space elevator to be too close to that area there. We also have some more coming up here, which we're going to want to bring down. That's just, I believe, another concrete one over there. And then here we have a lot of iron that we need to be organising. We have 3 at the moment and a potential 4th one once we get rid of the boulder that's over there. Most of this space is going to be taken up, but it may bleed out a little bit into this direction here, possibly overlapping. We also have another concrete one here, which again, I would like to keep the miner next to the water over there as its own little thing rather than enclosing it into a big building. So that's possibly going to be something that will feed up here and then come into a building that may be around here somewhere and start doing some concrete stuff from there. And then we also have our copper. Now, most likely I will be building an additional platform going over towards the copper there, and then we'll start building our copper refinery over there. In the meantime, we're going to want space for storage, and we also have some very large manufacturing plants that we need to put down to make the more advanced components that are required for the space elevator. So I think with the space elevator, I am going to be looking to putting it more over to this side of the map, somewhere in that area there, and that leaves this area here nice and clear to be doing other stuff. I don't want to bring it too close to the landscape here. It's going to start getting awkward. And if it's worst case scenario, if it needs to be moved again, it can be moved at a later stage. But for now, let's pop it over there. Let's see how that goes.
Project assembly initialized. Congratulations, Pioneer. The space elevator will now automatically connect with the Project Assembly orbital platform. Project assembly is divided into phases, each of which require the delivery of project parts, such as smart plating, via the space elevator. Subsequent phases unlock access to new tiers with more advanced technologies to construct, automate, explore and exploit. It is time to be honest. This project is part of the Save the Day program, the largest united undertaking in human history, destined to save us all. Earth is in peril and only FICSIT pioneers offer hope for survival. FICSIT is counting on you. Humanity is counting on you. Do not let FICSIT down.
I'll try not to. Pretty majestic looking thing here. It looks very cool. The detail is it's really very atmospheric. So this is where we will take our or feed in our additional components that are required here. And you can see it's asking for some smart plating here initially. Once we have that smart plating, we insert it into the machine and then we pull this lever down. That will send it off and then phase 1 will begin. Now that we've done that, next thing on the list is going to be to start setting up a proper functioning iron facility over here. And something that is working a lot better than the mess that's over there right now. We'll start doing some calculations and make sure that we are as optimized as we can be. We will get upgrades as well for the miners. I think it goes up to Mark 3 and they spew out huge amounts of iron. So we need to make sure that we are able to expand as we progress through the story. So now that we've tidied up our platform here, we've got our space elevator in place, we've got our power distribution nicely set up with huge amounts of power, more than I can actually supply, but you can see here I've got leftover. We are going to be focusing on the iron industry over in that corner so that we can make it a little bit more streamlined, a little more efficient than the mess that we've got going on here. So I'm going to end the episode here. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been informative, and for those of you that are a bit more savvy with the game or maybe even are a veteran at this game, I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. I hope just seeing my take on it is at least slightly entertaining. Please don't forget to leave a comment if you'd like to be involved and ask any questions, anything like that. I'm happy to answer. Always helps if you can give a little like as well on the videos. At this early stage in the channel's development, it'd be super appreciated. Anyway, until next time, bye bye.